Imagine a warrior so admired that his own enemies wrote stories about him. A sultan who ruled an empire but died with barely a coin to his name. A leader whose legacy has echoed through history for almost 1,000 years. Today, we're getting into the story of one of history's most fascinating figures, Saladin.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How does a Muslim leader fighting against the European Crusaders become this legend that even his sworn enemies admired? It's a paradox, and it's one that historians are still captivated by.
So who was this guy, really? Well, he was born Yusuf ibn Ayyub to a Kurdish family in what is now modern-day Iraq. The world would come to know him as Salah al-Din, which means the righteousness of the faith. And get this, he wasn't born a prince or a king, but he would go on to found his very own dynasty, the Ayyubids.
Yeah, his journey to the top, it was anything but a sure thing. Honestly, it was a masterclass in smart politics and even smarter military strategy, all happening in one of the most chaotic places on Earth at the time. And when I say his rise was rapid, I mean incredibly fast. In 1169, he's basically a top general in Egypt. Just 2 years later, boom, he completely dismantles the ruling dynasty there. By 1174, he's the sultan. And over the next decade or so, he just keeps going, pulling together all these fractured Muslim territories under his single command. And here's the thing, he had a huge challenge from the start. As a Kurd, he was an outsider ruling over Arabs and Turks. But his real genius was bringing a kind of order to a region that had been politically shattered for decades. By uniting everyone, he built this powerful front against the Crusader states and really became the champion for Sunni Islam.
Okay, so he's unified the Muslim world. What's next? Well, the ultimate prize, the one thing that would define his entire life, taking back Jerusalem.
For a while, there was this shaky truce with the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem, but it was all about to come crashing down. And it was all because of one guy, a Crusader lord named Reynaud of Chatillon, who was known for being a real hothead. When Reynaud attacked a peaceful caravan, breaking a treaty he'd sworn to uphold, he gave Saladin the perfect reason to declare a holy war. The result was a total disaster for the Crusaders at the Battle of Hattin. That loss led directly to Saladin capturing Jerusalem in 1187, ending 88 years of Crusader control. 88 years! For the Muslim world, this was just a monumental, tide-turning victory. But what happened after the battle is what really sealed his legend. See, when the Crusaders had taken Jerusalem all those years ago, they massacred the people inside. Saladin did the exact opposite. No killing, no destruction. He let Christians who could pay a ransom leave peacefully. He protected their holy places. He even gave the keys to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre to 2 Muslim families to guard, and that tradition actually continues to this day. Plus, he invited Jewish people who had been banned from the city to come back and live there. Well, the fall of Jerusalem absolutely rocked Europe. It sparked a massive response, the Third Crusade. And that set the stage for one of history's most legendary showdowns. On one side, you've got Saladin, the master strategist, the unifier, the defender of his faith. And on the other, you have Richard the Lionheart, the English king, pretty much the textbook definition of a warrior king. 2 of the most famous men of their era, on a collision course for the Holy Land. There's this one incredible story from the Battle of Arsef that just says it all. In the middle of the fight, Richard the Lionheart's horse is killed from under him, leaving him on foot and totally vulnerable. Saladin sees this happen from across the battlefield. So what does he do? He sends 2 of his own fresh horses over to Richard, so the king could get back in the fight. Can you even imagine that? And believe it or not, that wasn't a one-off thing. Later on, when Richard got really sick with a fever, Saladin sent him fresh fruit and snow from the mountains to cool him down. He even offered his own personal doctor, because he knew Islamic medicine at the time was way more advanced. This was more than just a war. It was a contest of greatness between 2 men who clearly respected each other. So in the end, there was no final epic battle. They couldn't beat each other, so they did something practical. They signed a treaty. Saladin kept Jerusalem, that was the big prize, but he guaranteed that unarmed Christian pilgrims could visit their holy sites whenever they wanted, completely safe. Richard headed back to England, and just a few months later, in 1193, Saladin died. But his story? Oh, that was far from over. His legacy was about to take on a life of its own. And get this, when he died, the most powerful man in the region didn't even have enough cash on hand in his personal treasury to pay for his own funeral.
Why? Because he had given nearly all of it away to the poor people in his kingdom. He ruled an empire but died a poor man.
That spirit, that legacy of leadership and piety, it didn't just fade away. It was transformed into a powerful political symbol that's, believe it or not, still a big deal today. The Eagle of Saladin. This eagle, which is thought to have been Saladin's own emblem, has become this huge symbol of Arab nationalism and unity. And I mean, it's right there, today, front and center, on the national coats of arms of Egypt, Iraq, and the Palestinian Authority. It's a direct line connecting their modern identity all the way back to the guy who united them 900 years ago.
Saladin was, without a doubt, a man of his time, a brilliant, religious, and sometimes ruthless medieval leader. But its legacy became something bigger, and it raises a really interesting question for all of us, doesn't it? What happens when a complex person from history gets turned into a simple, powerful symbol for the future? And what does the way we remember him tell us about what we look for in our leaders both back then and today?